Welcome back to another video. So in today's video, initially it was going to be a larger video. I was going to discuss the weekly candle and the daily candle, but for now I've decided we can split it up into two and do two smaller lessons. So today's lesson will cover the weekly candle and how the weekly candle contracts and expands and what we expect to see from it. And next lesson we'll get into a bit more detail with the daily candle, because it has a lot of smaller details that I'll be teaching you guys. So yeah, let's get into it. So now I know a lot of you guys are new, but some of you have probably heard, right, that Monday and Tuesday usually make the low of the week. So what does this mean? So I've drawn something up here for you guys, right? We have our weekly open. We have Monday trading lower. We have Tuesday trading a little lower. Then we have it trading upwards. Wednesday upwards. Thursday upwards. And then Friday comes back down. And as you can see, I've marked the weekly open and the weekly close. So this drawing is a breakdown, right? This drawing as an actual candle is what this would look like. This is the candle. And what we're looking at right now here, right? So cool. This is the weekly open. This is where the bullish candle opened. Bear in mind, this is a bullish example. As you can see, right? Weekly open, lands up. And then we move downwards. So when we see this wick on our weekly candle, we know what? We know that down here, this is where the low was made. And the low won't be made on Monday and Tuesday every time. Like, of course, I know I'm telling you guys, but it's not a given. And we'll get into that. And then on the opposite end, for this example, Thursday made the high of the week. And then, of course, we traded back in on the Friday and, at the end of the Thursday. And the weekly close happened here. So, where do you guys think the contraction is? This is what I consider, the contraction. This is kind of everything. We're coming down first, and then we have this large expansion, from Tuesday all the way up to Thursday, this straight line up. Remember when I told you guys, this is the real move. This is the move that we want to try and catch. I've told you guys before, I don't trade Monday, right? So with Monday and Tuesday, it's not always obvious when the low of the week has been put in. So even for DXY this week, for example, I thought the low of the week was put in yesterday, which was a Monday, and then DXY did manage to trade lower by the end of the Monday. And that's why usually we sit on our hands, we wait for the Tuesday to come, and we wait for a reversal to get in line with the weekly expansion. Why would you want to catch this small move, right, when we can catch this large move? This is the move that we want to try and catch. If you have your bias and this weekly candle is bullish, you can expect these days to usually be bullish, right? Cool. Let's get on the charts for a second. So I've drawn these dotted lines, right? And I've drawn these dotted lines every 5 days. So what I've done is, right, so this is Tuesday, Monday, disregarding them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Let me just add one more so it separates. So each line separates a week. And if you look at this week, right, so of course Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you can see what each day done. And then we come back to this week, again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 2 weeks in a row, the low of the week's been put in on the Wednesday, even though I've told you guys that usually we'll expect it on a Tuesday, right, if it's a bullish week. This was a bullish week, actually, sorry, and this was a bearish week. So over here, the high of the week was put in on a Tuesday, so early on in the week as expected, and the low of the week was put in on a Thursday, right? We traded back in. So what I need you guys to understand, first of all, I've given you an ideal example, something that we can expect to see. It doesn't mean that every Friday will trade back into range. It doesn't mean that every Monday and Tuesday will make the highs or the lows of the week, depending on if you're bearish or bullish, right? So this is why this is a similar study that was given to me when I first learned this concept, and it's something I want you guys to go away and do as well, right? So if I just pull up my Excel spreadsheet, if you guys have Excel or some different way to do it, what you can do is create this, right? And you can decide, I don't know, let's say you're gonna go ahead and do 50 weeks, right, as your homework. This is high of the week, this is the low of the week. You can go and check for each week when the high or the low of the week was put in. Once you've checked this, you can then convert this, to your percentage. Or on this percent of days, Monday put in the high of the week, this percent of the week, Tuesday put in the high or low of the week, depending on if it's bullish or bearish, right? So you guys also need to separate bullish and bearish weeks, if that makes sense, right? Because my example is a bullish example, the one I've shown you guys on the PowerPoint presentation. So cool. So now you know this, and now you might go ahead, do the study, and you further understand it, and you visually seen it now, right? What can you actually do with this? So framing the week, first of all, the thing I told you guys, we have our contraction and our expansion. The expansion is what we want to trade, right? So the first useful thing is, once you can anticipate the high or the low of the week has been made, now it's, especially if it's a Tuesday, it's time to start trading. You can get in line with the move. And the next major thing is news, right? And I mention news to you guys all the time. We're going to use this week's news as an example. So let's look at this. So as you guys can see, I would have sent this in, early on in the week. We just need to concentrate up to here, right? This is next week's. There was no news on Monday, no news on Tuesday, and we've got news Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So how does this apply to our week, right? Even though I said Thursday usually makes the high or the low of the week on the opposite end. So if you're in a bearish week, we expect Thursday to make the low. And if we're in a bullish week, we can expect Thursday to make the high. Of course, as I said, it won't happen every single time. Using these examples, what does this, make me think? I'm going to go back to a presentation for a second, right? News accelerates price action towards price's objectives. What does that mean? Price hunts liquidity and rebalances imbalances. So what the news usually does, and you can literally check this for yourself every time there's news, price will usually sweep liquidity, sweep an imbalance of some sort, and deliver that major move most of the time. That is what you will see happen literally almost every time. And sometimes it's not as visible, it might be on a lower time frame, but this is what happens. So cool. Now we understand what the news can do to price. Now how can we apply this to our weekly candle? We can expect the high, the opposite end of the range to be made on the Monday and Tuesday. And then on the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we want to see expansion. We want to see the expansionary move, right? So this week, let's take it for example, because this is going to play out from tomorrow onwards. I'm bullish on the DXY. And so far this week, the DXY has been retracing. It's been coming down. So I'm awaiting that strong impulsive move to then go ahead and break the high on the weekly and the daily charts. And potentially, and I've been putting out to you guys for a while, there's a 3-month imbalance. Potentially start trading into that, because these are a lot of red folders, and they can propel price to start trading at much higher levels. So that is how we use our news. Let's looking at next week, right? Cool. We have something similar. So what did I say to you guys? Thursday can make the opposite end of the range, right? So or at least one end of the range. So again, let's say next week we're bullish on the DXY, which is going to be dependent on what the DXY does this week. Since there is red folder news on Thursday, is it logical to assume that Thursday can make the high of the week for the DXY? I'd say it is. I'd say it's fairly logical. It's possible that Friday could do it. There are some orange folders, but I would probably bet on the Thursday doing it with all this red folder news, and price will be able to push up. So with this video, there's not a lot of detail, right? Well, I'd say there's a decent amount of detail, but what I mean is there's not a lot of content to take in. Instead, I need you guys to go and do that homework. Go see it for yourselves, because I had to do that. And that is, you visually begin to understand certain things, and certain things will click. And that's why it's important. This week, I will drop the lesson on the daily candle as well. I want to drop both lessons this week because they come under the same topic. But of course, that's going to have a few other topics under it. And those topics, especially if you trade Forex, should be very, very easy to implement in your trading and be able to help you a lot. So I'll see you guys in the next video soon.